Bio with Senior Marketing Specialist, and I'm super excited that you've been able to join us here on another edition of The Human Connection. This is one of the most favorite parts of my day, of my week that I get to do. I've been extraordinarily blessed over my 30 plus year career to have met some amazing people across all spectrums of this industry. And what I love about this is that I get to bring those conversations to you. So we've had people that have had huge success on the carrier side of it, independent agents that are dealing directly with the client, people who are making an impact in this industry, like my guest today, who I am humbled and extraordinarily excited to be able to introduce, somebody that truly needs no introduction to this world, to this industry, but somebody who has, in the last very few, which seems like short years, gone from somebody who maybe have known him or his dad in the industry from one aspect of it to now literally making one of the largest impacts in our entire industry from anything that I've seen in such a short amount of time. So please help me welcome Mr. Cody Askins, founder of 8% Nation and many, many, many other projects that you're going to hear about over the next 30 minutes. But welcome, Cody.
That's awesome. Thank you, JoAnn. I appreciate that. I'm a huge JoAnn Ray fan. We first met up at your office like 7.5 years ago.
I was going to try to remember what year that was. I was going to guess 5. So yep, they sneak up on me.
Yeah, I think it was probably like February of 2014. Right now, as recording this, we're October of 2021. So yeah, it's crazy how. But you and your operation, your team, I've always been super impressed. You guys are awesome. Your resume is crazy impressive, and I'm honored and humbled to be hanging out with you today as well. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I didn't even ask him to say that. I swear I didn't. So one of the things that I always start with is just kind of for those people who are listening and watching today, give us a little bit of the Cody Askins bio. What got you to this point? And then we're going to have a lot of fun then unpacking it throughout the rest of the 30 minutes. But give us just a quick little bio of how you got to be where you are right now.
I love it. Also, if you guys are jumping in, I would definitely continue listening. She's got some fantastic creative questions coming up soon, which can be cool. You can tell she did her prep and did some homework, which is awesome. So I got my dad's been in the business 32 years. I got started in the industry when I was 19 as an intern at a local Mutual Hall office. As I was an intern, I got my license part-time for a few months, and I really thought, okay, if these other people can do it, I can too, right? I may not be as smart as them. I don't have the experience. I don't have the sales skill yet, but if they can do it, I can too, right? I think my parents, I don't say this a lot, but my parents instilled a lot of personal confidence in me. Mm-hmm. Like when I first decided to become a full-time agent, I was sitting in a recruiting meeting and the manager said, all right, 10 of you stand up. And he said, take a look around. Then he said, okay, now 9 of you sit down. Oh. And he said, what he said next was, maybe one of you will make it. Right? Oh. Out of the 10. And I'm like, dude, if there's going to be a 1, come on now. I promise you, I will be the one. Right.
What a great visual that is. That's
really amazing. Strong. I've used that in trainings and meetings. Yeah, because it was such a good visual. But in that moment, a few things happened. My dad had already told me, hey, you're my son. You have the ability and you will make $100,000 your first year at 20. Right. Well, I'm 20. I'm going to college. I'm playing basketball. I could have used the excuse I don't have a lot of time. And I start cold calling and cold door knocking to sell life insurance. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm at least putting the activity in, which I kind of learned. As long as you put the activity in and get in front of some people, you're going to be okay, right? And so I sold for several years. I even had a goal my first year I wrote down every single day and I hung it on my wall in my cubicle that I will earn $100,000 my first year in the insurance industry at 20 years old. I can't find that, but I wish I still had that because that's the power of goals, right? So I was listening to a lot of Brian Tracy back then. Yep. Love selling insurance. I did that for many years. December of 2015, I started putting out YouTube videos, and you talk about being vulnerable. First video got, dozens of views, at least dozens. The first year, it really, as long as someone's persistent enough, they will succeed, right? Like that's what we both learned. My first year, I had 351 YouTube subscribers, the whole first year, which for a channel is really bad. And if you go back and look at my earlier videos, they're also really bad. And I laugh at them now, but I say that because yes, over these last few years, we've really put a focus on getting attention in the space and helping other agents. But ever since seeing my grandpa speak at 10 years old as a Baptist pastor, I wanted to be a speaker when I grew up, right? That was my passion. That's what I really, really wanted. So now I get to hang out with cool people like you every day.
That's awesome. So I know a little bit I thought I knew a lot more about your background. It's the first time I've heard your grandfather. So
Yeah.
tell us about that. So he was a Baptist preacher.
Yes.
So you were sitting there thinking that the ministry was maybe a way to go, or just speaking in front of people was the way that you were going to reach people?
Yeah, I wasn't really sure. I thought maybe ministry at that age because
Sure.
we've always been heavy in church. But just watching him, and then as I kind of grew, started like there would be like camp meetings and revivals, and I would see other
Mhm.
people coming in and speaking, and I was so enamored by that. I don't
Yeah.
know why. I'm okay sitting on the sidelines or on the bench or in the stands for a period of time, but I eventually want to get in the game, right? I eventually want to get on the stage. I eventually
Yeah.
want to be behind the pulpit, right?
Right.
And I think a lot of us have that in us, by the way. We don't talk about
Yeah.
it a lot, but deep down, nobody really wants to be in the stands as a spectator forever. We really
Right.
don't. Like deep down, we really
Right.
don't. And so I was watching him and I was learning. I was seeing what he was doing. I was seeing all these different pastors and preachers. And I always catered to the ones that had the most energy, by the way.
Yep.
That they were the most entertaining, the most energy, the most enthusiastic,
Yeah.
the easiest to listen to. Well, then I remember starting to study some business people
Mm.
several years later when even in high school, I started to have a serious interest in business. And so I would be watching and I would be learning from Brian Tracy and Zig Ziglar and all these other people, right? Jim Rohn, like Tony Robbins, et cetera, et cetera. Brian Tracy,
Yeah.
Les Brown, like all these people. And I'm thinking, man, I wonder if I could, like, how cool would it be to help people like they do? How cool would it be to speak on the biggest stages in the world, right? And travel the world doing that. What really made me realize that I wanted to be more on the training, speaking, helping side. It's always funny too, like, because we're being vulnerable today. People say those that can't do teach. Well,
Mhm.
when you make 117 grand at 20, and trust me, I can go back out and run $1 million a year in life insurance on my own, hands down. I'm fully confident in that ability, but my passion isn't physically selling insurance day to day anymore, right? And I learned that when I was like 20, 21, I had a manager reach out to me and said, "Hey, there's two young agents. They're in northern Missouri. I forget what city I was up in. They were like 4 or 5 hours away. They were probably still a couple hours north of you, and." He said, "They're struggling. They're not making any money. Can you come help them?" And I said, "Okay. I don't know. I mean, I can take them door knocking. Sure, I'll try."
Yeah.
And I remember writing like 5 life insurance policies in one day from cold door knocking with them, and just had a blast. All 3 of us were going to the door together. It was really weird, but it was fun. And I left the business with them. I didn't take any of the commission, no app splits. They split the business, do whatever, and I left. And I drove home. And I remember thinking on that long drive home that I had more fun doing that,
Yeah.
seeing them light up and learn today than any day I had ever sold before. And so I thought maybe there's a future in that, you know?
So we'll probably title this. You've already mentioned all the people that are on my wall as well, but the Zig Ziglar I think probably has the most quotable quotes that I live by. So we're probably going to,
Yeah.
because of that right there, that story, we're probably going to title this podcast one of my favorite quotes of him, which is, "You can have everything in life that you want if you help enough other people get what they want."
Amen.
I think you just probably summed all of that up, that's the passion that drives you. That's why you chose the path that you chose.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people, like you said, that could get up each day and go out and make an income for themselves and those around them by personal sales or personally writing those policies,
Yes.
versus you getting up each day and figuring out, how can my audience, whether that's an audience literally in a stadium or my audience on YouTube or my audience in my own company, when you walk through the door each day, doesn't that just
Yeah.
light your fire? That I wonder
Yes.
who today, I wonder who's going to get it. Like, I wonder who, if the 9 out of the 10 that had to sit down in your first meeting,
Hmm.
I wonder who that one is going to be today. And if that's what lights your fire, how fun is that, right?
Yeah. It's so fun. It's a blast. I mean, I can't help but have a big smile when I walk through the doors. And yeah, we got a lot going on. We got multiple companies. We got about 100 staff. Like it's grown, but I can't imagine going back or doing anything differently. Like someone could walk in, and it's happened, by the way, not with these figures, but we've had multiple people come into our lives and try to acquire, right? Well, I can tell you, number one, I'm 31. Number two, what would I do? Like, I love this so much. I can't imagine doing anything else. Like, absolutely am enamored with it, right? So if someone could say, I'll give you $100 million, I wouldn't take it. I just love what I'm doing so much. And so it's kind of funny too. Like, I had a very good childhood. A lot of people don't, by the way. Like they use, a lot of people use their past and their childhood and past experiences and previous relationships and things they went through to impact and really develop their future. Or they use that as motivation and fuel. I had a great childhood. However, there were still small moments along the way. I mean, for example, I'll share one. I don't share this stuff a lot. I was in college playing basketball, and I felt like I should have started over another kid. And I went to the coach and said, "Hey, I should be the starting point guard. Trust me, like I'm the dude." And we all think that. I thought it was true in the moment. Whatever. Maybe I was wrong. And he's like, "You are probably a better fit for the team to start at that position, but you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth. So I'm going to give it to the other kid."
Oh, ouch.
And I'm like, dude, his past is not my problem, So there's been little moments like that still drive me today, where I'm like, dude, I don't care if I had a great childhood. It doesn't mean I can't still wake up with some drive and some feelings of, I'm just going to get what I want in life without hurting other people in any way.
But don't you think I absolutely agree, and I've never heard it put that way, but other childhoods become people who are trying to fight that cycle, right? Those of us, you and I, are in the blessed column. I certainly wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I doubt you would describe your childhood that way either, but we were born blessed with good parents. Let's just put it that way.
Yes.
Blessed with good parents, blessed with good upbringing. The more people I meet that didn't have that blessing and didn't have the good fortune to grow up in the house that like you and I did, that is what fuels me.
Yeah.
That is, and one, it just becomes an awareness that I wasn't aware of maybe the first 20 plus, almost 30 years of my life, probably actually until my kids started getting into the years that they were getting into and started spending more time at friends' homes and starting to grasp their own blessings and their own, ability to be able to do things, not financially. I don't mean that at all. I just mean having a good set of parents and a good set of role models and a place that was good to go home to.
Right.
You realize not everybody had that. And to me, that doesn't put us on different pedestals. It makes me want to fight even harder to show that is possible and that is attainable no matter where you came from. Let's give those gifts away. And so I think that's a huge revelation. You figured it out much younger than I did, much younger than most. But then what do you do with that, right?
Correct.
Like Oprah says, once you know better, you do better. So if you know this is out there and you're not doing anything, what makes you any different than anybody else? So the fact that that everybody has this God-given ability inside of them, it doesn't matter what their parents were, what their income was, what their schooling or education is. Everybody's got that hunger inside of them, and you bring that out. You talked about the word energy in recognizing your grandfather and in any other presentation that you had been to or speaker or event. It's the energy. And I would, if there was one word to describe Cody Askins, there's probably many. Energy also, I mean, you got that. Where on earth did you wake up one day? I want to talk about 8% Nation for a minute. How on earth did you wake up? Or did you wake up one day and said, that's what I'm doing? Or did it grow to that? And, you first wanted 20 people in the room and then 100. Or did you just wake up going, I want 20,000 people filling a stadium. Let's go.
It didn't. Well, I always envisioned that a little, even though I knew, okay, that's probably not realistic to start out with, even though I'm not a very realistic person to begin with, I guess. Anyway, my I was at Cardone's conference 10X, first row. There was 9,000 people there, and it was entertaining. It was like a concert. It was like a business. It was edutainment. It was entertainment. It was really fun, but it was also very good. And I'm like, man, our industry is so flippin' boring.
Yeah.
It just is, right? And I don't mean to offend anybody when I say that, but it is. The conferences and events I've been to are boring. A lot of them. Y'all's was actually one of the funner ones I've been to, by the way, just because your team is so much fun. And that's the energy that's where that matters, by the way, too. People don't talk about that enough. Right. That matters. I think that the team, the people putting it on, have the biggest impact on how people leave.
Yep.
For 100%. And then I was thinking about doing a conference. I was like, man, I was told Lauren, babe, our industry needs something like this that's for anyone. Now, I don't know if anybody will come because it's kind of weird to bring all these different IMOs and agents and carriers and all these people together that are doing their own events to come to one that's for all of them that I'm putting on. It's, that nobody knows this kid. I've got less than 2,000 YouTube subscribers when I first released it in summer of 2018. Yeah. We had like very little following, really. But it was my dad that really, again, was a big encourager. We were in the pool over, is it Memorial Day that's in May?
Uh-huh.
I always get the two confused. So more Memorial Day.
Summer, yep.
Yeah, May 2018. And I'm thinking about doing a conference. Actually, MedSup conference was coming up again back then. And I was like, man, I really need to do something that's for any product line and any IMO, any carrier, any agent, and captive independent. Doesn't matter. Who cares? And he's like, yeah, you should do that. He's like, you could pull it off. I'm like, gosh, dang it. Come on. So then I did. So we made the decision. We went way bigger, got way more speakers in the club area in Nissan Stadium where the Titans play. We spent $500,000. I didn't have any business doing that. It was insane. Lost a bunch of money. I was scared to death the whole time. I had only spoken in front of people once before the conference ever. It's nuts.
I love that. I love that belief system, man.
I don't know where. I don't know. It's a blessing and a curse. We'll just put it that way.
So tell me. So I know a lot about your dad, and you've talked a lot about coming up alongside your dad and all the things that you learned from him from a business standpoint. Tell me about your work-life balance. You're married. I know she's a big part of the company and of this momentum. But how on earth do you handle family life, work life, travel? Your world much of it revolves around social media. So it's this thing, this phone, this computer, this laptop. It's always probably connected in some way. How do you shut that off, and how do you have evening at home together?
That's a really good question. It's hard to do sometimes too. It was easy. It was easier recently when Facebook and Instagram were shut down for an entire day till 8 o'clock or whatever.
That was not a bad day.
I was like, we got more done maybe than ever, right? It's kind of nice actually for once. I'm like, couldn't they just do that once a month? That'd actually be okay. I'd be okay with that. It's weird as it is.
It's kind of like I described that as when that day that happened is kind of like COVID was really just kind of like a reset for people. 2020 was a reset of people going, wait a minute, what am I spending my time doing? And
yes.
So I totally.
Yes, I mean, my wife's extremely supportive. She's incredible. She's always really encouraged me to do whatever we wanted to do. I get bored very easily. I need stuff to do. A whole weekend of nothing to do, and I will pull.
That's like a nightmare to you, right?
It is. Yeah. It is a complete nightmare. I don't mean that to come across weird to people, but it's just it's tough. I can't just sit around and watch TV all weekend. I used to be able to, but I can't now. I got to be doing something at all times. So yes, it's hard to shut it off phone wise sometimes. I'm getting better at like leaving the phone on the nightstand in the room when I go to the living room for a couple hours, and we'll eat dinner and watch Bachelor in Paradise or whatever she wants to watch and hang out and relax, or we'll go to the hot tub and I won't bring my phone. So I'm getting better. But she's been super supportive. Also too, here's a business lesson here. Everybody Like when you start having a lot going on, the best thing you can do is surround yourself with other really impressive people,
Mhm.
people that are a lot of times more impressive than you at a lot of different areas. And I've been very fortunate in that. Our team, whether it be the CA side slash 8%, or whether it be the SAM side with Landon, our team there, whether it be the SIG side with my dad and Ty and Matt and Dallas and all them, we've been very fortunate. And I, back a few years ago, finally got out of the way of trying to do it all and control everything and realized I really can't grow or you can't ever do anything big in this world on your own. And the moment I really realized that, it allowed me to have a little more balance because I'm trusting people to do other things. I don't have to worry about it all. And
Mhm.
boy, is it nice.
If I write a book someday, that'll be my title. I got out of the way.
Yes,
And I
that's
think
good.
that again, it doesn't happen day one. That doesn't happen year one. But I think if everybody's timing is different. But I think when you realize to make that move, that's going to be the day that everything else
Yeah.
starts clicking. But you have to have the right people.
Yes.
You can't put people in place just because they have a good resume or just because they fill the box,
Hmm.
um, and then get out of the way, because that's not going to work. But once you have the right people, and sometimes it's a gamble, you're never ever 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 going to know if they are the exact right person for your company or
Correct.
for your life. But man, if you don't get out of the way and give them a little bit of a path to go
Yeah.
down, you're going to know. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that I see other folks making, whether in our world, an agent
Hmm.
becomes successful and decides to get an office and hire a couple staff and maybe get a downline agent or two. They don't get out of their own way. If they
Correct.
don't get out of their own way,
Yeah.
that's what they're going to look like 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 40 years from now. Maybe that's what they want.
Yes.
But if you want to grow, you cannot do that getting in your own way.
No, I see a ton of heavy six-figure earners. I'm talking like 3, 4, 5, 600 grand a year, and they're literally a slave to their business. They
Oh,
are working
they
in
couldn't
it.
take a day off. They could not take a day off if they wanted to.
No, and it's so miserable to see. I mean, it's funny, like the business lessons that you learn along the way. I know literally very little compared to JoAnn Ray, but I can tell you overall, it's kind of funny along the way. I'm learning some of these things and realizing like what's going on, but I'm
Yeah.
also still learning every single day. Like I'm always a student of what's going on because I recently had several people leave. There were very incredible people within our company. Some left the right way, some left the wrong way. Who
Mhm.
cares? Life goes on, right? But what I can tell you is what I'm learning is I always think so. This is like on my wrist. It says accept responsibility on my wristband.
Very
Okay,
nice.
and I say that because I could say, well, they're just bad people, or I could say, well, what could I have done differently to
Right.
have differed that outcome?
Right.
And so I try to just have that mentality with everything I do.
Yep. We've lost people as well over the years, and that's always the first thing is should we, could we, what if we did something different? Would it have changed the outcome? And if the answer is no, I'm going to sleep very well at night
Yeah,
knowing that this is their story. This is their journey.
exactly.
Something didn't happen the way that they thought, but I wouldn't do anything differently to change that. Sometimes there are, where we make a mistake, we're going to own up, we're going to take a
Yeah,
step back and then go 10 steps forward. But I think that's a really, really, really good
it's
lesson that you learned already.
yeah. What's kind of crazy too, like the team when it happens, it's like, oh crap.
Yeah.
But then actually what happens is it ends up working out. And actually in a lot of cases, the team actually gets better
Right.
when you think
There's-
we will never financially recover from this.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll never financially recover, or, oh my God, we're going to fall apart. That person was the glue, or that person was, if it's a staff member, they were best friends with four of the other blah, blah, blahs. Now they're going to want to leave, or now this is going to fall apart. And like you said, with very rare exception, it's always been a blessing for everybody. I hope they've gone on to do what they want to do or find what they were looking
Correct.
for. It certainly ends up being a blessing for us, because there's a reason that it wasn't fitting, and we can't go in and make something fit. uh, Sometimes it's just kind of got to happen naturally. So one of
Totally.
the things I always want to know, and I'm so glad I get to ask you this question in front of everybody, as driven as you are and as ridiculous as a schedule you must have, I want to know, what does a typical work day look like for Cody Askins? Walk us through a typical, if there is such a thing, day in your world.
Yeah, so it's pretty similar Monday through Friday. It varies a little bit with people in town and that kind of stuff, but I will wake up at about 6 a.m.
Okay.
just before 6. There's several things I'll do every morning. I will go get a good workout in with a personal trainer. I have a personal trainer that I work out with 5 days a week, every single day. It's amazing how much that does for your energy. Then I come back and I write down my goals every single morning. And I write them down a little differently now than I used to. And most people probably don't write them down this way. I write down, today I will, and I'll list 1 or 2 things. Very soon I will, and I'll list 1 or 2 things. And then one day I will, and I'll list 1 or 2 things. Like one of the things I write down is every day is one day. Very soon, 8% will get to 2,500, 5,000, 10,000. But then one day I will be the #1 speaker in the world. I write it down every single day. Okay.
Does the one day, does that change each day? Or is that a pretty
It's
steady?
it's the same. Yeah. Because I also write down that like we own multiple homes and real estate and a jet, a helicopter, and an office tower. So, those stay the same. It's a podcast, so they can't see you laughing.
I love it. I'm laughing because I love everything about this.
Thank you. Then I come back and I after my shower, I finish with a couple minutes of ice cold water, as cold as I can make it. And I forced myself I really believe a lot of people in our industry preach like, do whatever you want. You don't have to do with stuff you don't want to do. I believe you got to do stuff you don't want to do. I believe it's not going to be easy. I believe you got to put yourself out there. I believe you can't. I think one of the biggest things that hold people back in our industry is OPO, other people's opinions. And it's like, dude, who cares? What is your opinion, right? So the cold shower really wakes me up and brings some energy. And then on the way to work, I'm listening to an audiobook or a podcast. Like this morning, I was listening to Jim Rohn talking about the psychology of wealth thinking. And I loved it because he talked about, he said, list, and I actually challenge everybody listening to do this. He said, list all the reasons why you are not where you thought you would be at this point in your life. Take a few minutes and list all the reasons. Okay. I'm going to spoil the ending, but that's all right. Because I made our sales team do this morning. And I took 3 minutes and they all did it. And then he says, the real reason is not on the list. He said, because you didn't write me. That's the only reason you aren't where you wanted to be. Okay. Which is so good, right? So powerful.
Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah. So then I get to the, after all that, I get to the office at about normally between 7:45 and 8. Sometimes a couple minutes later, just depending on how late I'll leave my personal training session. And then my assistant, Kelly, who's actually now in charge of operations as well, has me a Starbucks, thankfully. Lucky for her, she's amazing. Our whole team's awesome. And then we go to an 8:30 company-wide meeting every single morning. There's like 60 in there between marketing and CA. And we do a huge company meeting. We share some wins. We share a message for the day. And then we go about our day. But it's a great way to kick off the morning. Right after that, I talk to the sales team from about 8:35 to 8:50 every morning, both sales teams, and do a little training. And we had them do the exercise this morning. 8:50 is a secure agent marketing a secure agent marketing directors meeting with all the leadership of the marketing company. 9:11, we call it our 911 CA meeting. That's our operations team on the CA side is all meeting to share what they're working on, what their projects are looking like, what their deadlines are. And we'll talk about some new stuff happening. Like we've got a roadshow event coming up in several cities in the near future. We'll talk about that. Then I'm normally got some stuff on my calendar. Normally a podcast or an interview at some point during the day. I used to do a lot of one-on-one coaching. I don't anymore just because I don't have time. And then I'm focused on 3 things throughout the day. I'll have lunch at some point whenever I have time, but then 1:30, all the salespeople will get back together without me to do more training. So they're watching sales training video, they're role playing, and they're doing some type of energy activity. And that's twice a day, every day. Mm-hmm. And then our day ends at 5:30 from an office standpoint. I'm normally here a little bit later. But I'm focused on 3 things every day. And I really believe everybody should get to the point where you can just focus on 3 things every day, right? And so mine are, I promote everything we're doing. I connect with people around the industry, just like this. And I focus on collecting revenue, right? And you're like, well, why is collecting revenue a primary focus every day? Because if you don't make any money, you can't keep helping people. And you'll be like the 76% of businesses in the US that have less than 28 days of savings. And then when COVID hits, they're out of business. Well, I don't want to be one of those businesses, right? And I'm in control of that. I feel bad that that's the case for them, but I do not want to put myself in a position where that is the case.
That's awesome. That's
So,
awesome.
yeah.
So would love to spend another hour kind of unpacking a lot of different parts of your day. I'm intrigued by the sales meetings and the all company meetings. How long are each of those and who plays what role in those? Because we're always trying to figure out, I'm an efficiency
Yeah.
expert, or
Yeah.
I want to be. I'm desperately trying to be an efficiency expert.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure every minute of every day is filled with something that's beneficial. I don't like wasting time.
No.
Meetings, people feel like are a waste of time,
Yep.
to some regards. So we're always trying to figure out how to make the most of every meeting. Me standing in front of a group of 50 talking about something is not an efficient use of everybody's time. So
Yep.
walk me through those two meetings specifically. How long are they and who's speaking?
Yeah, so sales the morning meeting that Steve does is like literally like 3 minutes to kick off the day with some motivation, excitement to wake everybody up because they may not be awake yet. Yeah, just fun.
Lighthearted motivation.
Yep.
Okay.
The sales trainings I'm typically with them for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then they're going into role playing and energy activity. And then the two directors meetings with Sam and CA, and SIG's adopted a bunch of this stuff too. Those meetings are max 10 minutes is the goal. One person's leading the meeting. There's no chit chat. And we're like, okay, Dylan, what do you got on your plate today? What are you working on? And what's your deadlines? And each person goes around the room, but it helps hold a lot of people accountable. Also,
Right.
everybody knows what everybody's working on. Also, everybody knows if they have a crazy busy day and they're slammed, they got a ton of work to do, so they don't get around and just talk and waste future time in the day.
Right.
So yes, time is our most valuable asset, and we keep those very tight.
Awesome. Very, very similar to ours. Ours aren't daily, ours are more weekly.
Cool.
But again, trying to have each meeting, I feel like as you walk in, kind of needs to have a little different agenda. Some are task. What are you working on? What are you working on? What are
Yeah.
you working on? Some are informative. I need to inform people of what's coming up. Some I feel like, and I use this for our directors meeting, which is our leadership group, their connection.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, in those meetings, I don't care if we spend 10 minutes talking about the weather or kids or an issue with the staff. It's that time that they have to connect, because once that either phone hangs up or we walk out of the room, they're going 1,000 miles an hour and they don't connect. And you can tell from this podcast, the human connection, that word to me, I think is probably one of the most important words of our company, of my success, is connecting. I love the part of your day that that's one of your goals, is to connect
Yeah.
with somebody else, to connect other people. I feel like I'm a matchmaker sometimes,
Yeah.
putting this person with this person because I think they would be a fit for a project, a job, a career, a sale, a relationship of some kind. But I always feel like I'm kind of matchmaker, looking to see who fits where to benefit them and to benefit everybody. So I love it.
Yes.
Would love to, again, we should get together again on an expanded one and just
Yeah.
literally talk about the efficiency of 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and what happens in Cody Askins' life, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And we could spend an hour taking apart each of those and why
Yeah.
it's important to work out the physical aspect of it. We talk a lot about health and wellness in
Yes.
our company. It's not just the physical aspect, but the wellness overall, your mental health, physical health. This can take a toll when you go at the pace that you go and that you expect others to follow.
Hmm.
Not everybody wakes up feeling like Cody Askins each morning. And Cody probably doesn't feel like Cody Askins each morning, right?
No.
It's a mindset you got to get yourself to, just like you got
True.
to drive yourself to the office. Sometimes you got to drive mentally to get there as well. So what would be
Yes.
your best advice, and we'll probably have to end on this, what would be your best advice of how to get there? How do you can't just wake up and have this excellent day in front of you. You got to force it. What's your number one thing that you would tell somebody that's struggling and trying to figure out how to stay that motivated or get into that motivated world?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I think the goals piece really lights me up. The workout piece is really important from a side point because it helps alleviate some stress. It's a time for me to just get energy and anything internal out, and then
Yep.
also my team can tell when I don't work out in the morning instantly. They're like, "You didn't work out today, did you?" I'm like, what did I do? They could just see it. It's all written all over my face, right? That's what's just amazing. But then really the goals thing. So like focusing on what I'm going to, I think everybody should be like, okay, here's the 3 things I'm going to accomplish today. No matter what, right? Even if a tornado comes through the office, there's 3 things I'm getting done today, no matter what. I don't care. And I think that also gives you a sense of ownership, gives you a sense of pride, gives you a sense of confidence. Like, you've a sense of accomplishment, really.
Yeah. There's so many different directions I want to go, but we probably better wrap it up. I know you've got a huge day, but if there's somebody out there that has been living under a rock and doesn't know where to find Cody Askins.
Well, everybody always says that. Okay, everybody always says that, but there's like I can buy a list right now of 2,070,000 insurance agents, and I guarantee you, like 80% have no clue who I am. Okay, so
well, let's pretend all 2 million of them are listening to us right now. Then where can they find you, Cody?
My favorite place to send people is YouTube to absorb some content. We just hit 51,000 subscribers of insurance agents a couple days ago. If you want to chat, my Instagram is easy at Cody.Askins. I love engaging with people and responding with people. You shoot me a video or you shoot me a message about the podcast or how much you love JoAnn Ray or whatever. I'll try to send you a video message back because I love doing video.
Awesome.
But I would say IG is the easiest way to connect and my favorite, actually well over Facebook, surprisingly. So
I am a huge Instagram proponent, not even so much for the business aspect, but just for my mental health. Instagram, the way I describe it, it's like if I could create a magazine for JoAnn Ray, it would be what Instagram is, because it's all the things that I love. It's all the things that nurture my brain, but I don't let anything negative in. I don't let anything, I don't even let too much business in. It's literally things that fuel my soul, fuel my brain so that I can get up the next day and try to live in your shadows of motivating people to want to be their best and to want to be the best versions of themselves. So
that's a big mistake by people too, is the first 30 minutes they consume all this crap. Of the first 30 minutes of the day and the last 30 minutes of the day are super valuable, and we consume all this media and this Facebook negativity world. Like, I love that you talked about controlling your world, because it will end up in your mind somewhere. That's for sure.
It absolutely does. Well, this has been the greatest part of my day, Cody, to be able to share these few minutes with you and the very tiny, minute portion of your day, the energy that you bring, the excitement that you bring to this industry, what you've done for our industry, and not just our industry, but what you're doing on a daily basis is something that has inspired all of us. I love being around people who are making change happen and making big things happen. It just reinvigorates us that have been around a while and thought we'd maybe seen everything or accomplished everything. Now I want to go work harder. I want to be better. I want to do more after listening to you for 30 minutes. So I appreciate you immensely. Love to all of your cohorts there and family. And I wish you much success. Not that you need my wish, but we will all try to follow in your energy, Cody.
Well, thank you. Okay, tell the whole SMS fam I love them and appreciate all of you as well. And I've loved this, by the way. I could talk to you for days. How amazing is JoAnn Ray? I mean, gosh, I love this.
Well, we'll have to do part 2 then, for sure.
Done.
Back by popular demand, that will be part 2.
There we go. So if you guys don't respond to the podcast or like it or comment or share it out, then guess what? I don't get to come back. So
that's right. We need everybody's help. All right. Thanks, Cody. Appreciate you.
You too.
Have a great day. Bye, everybody.